their microphones, perhaps.
Or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
innovative, revolutionary, stellar development, purest universal knowledge, in a transformative, futuristic design. The Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit. The very first new evolutionary spaceship technology has been rolled out for mass production. Our Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit is constructed from high-quality materials carefully selected by our team of experts. Embedding the essence of the new GANS plasma science and technology, it uses collective plasma field technology for changing and enhancing the environment of the body of the man. This new plasma enhancement changes the environment of the body to allow it to return to its natural, balanced, energetic condition, as in the womb of the mother, allowing every cell in the body of the man to find its natural, original field strength balance. The shape and field distribution in this new space plasma technology replicates the inner structure of the universe and replicates the balance fields from which the man was created at the point of inception in the womb of the mother, not only receiving balance in the physical, but also in the emotional sense too. For the first time in the history of man, a system has been developed and delivered which not only enhances the physical body of the man, but also enhances the emotional part of the user of the system, hence reducing and eliminating many problems that could not be solved in the world of science, to bring the body of the man into near perfection as at the time of birth. This new spaceship technology can be within the reach of every man today and can be ordered by medical practitioners, sports specialists, and healthcare centers. The Universal Enhancement Spaceship Unit, the future you have been waiting for, is here. The journey from space to spaceship technology has started. Every order is subject to a contractual agreement and might require additional accessories priced separately for applications according to each case. You can order or contact us at office@at.kfm.global for additional information.
Hello and welcome everyone to the 375th Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, April 8th, 2021. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute Education Department and part of the public teachings in English. My name is Rick Crammond. I'll be a host today. And we are hosting Mr. Mehran Keshe of the Keshe Foundation. And as usual, he will present today's Knowledge Seekers Workshop. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Are you ready to begin?
Yes, good morning, good day to you. As usual, wherever you listen to this series of Knowledge Seekers Workshops. It is interesting in what we have started past few weeks, how many of you have started to understand slowly the process of creation. In the past, due to the lack of understanding of the creation and how magnetic fields are created and where they come from, many of us always guessed, especially those who call themselves scientists. They came out with the names, fantasy ideas, and in not seeing it, but one elaborating on the work of the other, they made it very real. In so many ways, in the world of nuclear, they start speaking about quarks, up quarks, down quarks, and everything else. But in essence, they was all dreams. These are all something fantasized and the other followed. And they created more names as they could not understand. As I was talking to the people who are teachers, and we talked about this many times before, the structure within the plasma of a neutron, electron, proton, every single atom within a cell of the body of the man cannot be any different than the structure of the universal bodies. This be it solar systems, galaxies, universes, and the rest. One of the biggest problems for the world of science today is to understand the totality, is to understand what actually is going on. Where do these fields come in? And how these fields, once created, hold on to themselves. In a way, how a cluster is created and how the boundary of these clusters create, position, field strength, and the rest in respect to the others. In so many ways, mankind needs to understand more in the detailed structure, in the full understanding of the process of creation. Many times, we consider that the strength is more within than from outside, but in the interaction of the fields of the magnetic and gravitational fields of the universe, this becomes something totally opposite to what we've been taught. What does this mean? In the world of physics, we can look at the structure, something we can hold, something we can define everything within it. Like an egg, you have a yolk in the center, and you have the white. It's its own element, but at certain points, you have the shell, which creates a resistance or a barrier in respect to whatever outside could be. How does this barrier create it, and how does it stand the field forces outside? And how do we break into it? And how do we break the barrier and be able to interfere and interact with the fields inside as much as with outside? In so many ways, we have made a very big misunderstanding of, again, definition of the field forces. We call it magnetical, or we call it gravitational. Let's change the magnetical to pressure. And let's call the gravitational or the pressure and magnetical, the vacuum, the sucking out the energy or pulling out the field. We find out that there is no difference. And in a way, for those of you who want to understand more and find a comparison between the physics and the plasma, it'll be easier to understand that if you call the pressure gravity, you find a lot of similarities. The world of science becomes very different. The world of understanding of the creation becomes any different. In a way, what we call the pressure or gravity is one pushed on and enforced on, where gravity pulls in and forces in. And at a point when gravitational field forces and in a matter state pressure become equal, or gravity field forces within the structure stand the pressure, but cannot stand what we call the vacuum or extraction, then we find the breach. Then we find one gives up and the other one breaks through. The same is true in the world of the creation of magnetic fields, which this means we have to find out the ways magnetical field strength pressures that we can break into the plasmas, that we can split the plasmas, or create a condition outside the plasma that by pulling it or creating the vacuum of the field forces, be able to create separation or division of the cell of the plasma. In the present world of plasma technologies, this has not been understood fully yet. In a way, the plasma physicists, nuclear physicists are in the dilemma, where they see things, but they cannot define it. They observe changes in condition of the plasma, but they do not know how to handle it. And as we've seen in nuclear industry, we use the field forces. We call it neutron to be split by other objects, that is splits. But we see this happens naturally in neutron itself, and it divides itself in electron and proton, as we talked last time. The world of plasma technology, nuclear, and the present physics come to be one when we understand the totality. It's just, again, different condition of the strength field. And in so many ways, every man, every child then can understand the process of what we call plasma technology, the process of creation. Because to every single person, the world of creation is something which moves, something which is there, we can see. But the true world of creation is in fields that we cannot see. They come together in a very hidden way, And in respect to the field strength outside, they gather and they create the condition of the manifestation or exertion of the field forces or the strength on their environment. I have tried for many years to find a way to be able to make the world of physics and plasma technology in a simple way that everyone can understand, that in the depth of universe, as a traveler of the universe, we can converse, we can understand the changes and where one leads to the other. The biggest problem in the world of plasma technology and the present physics is that we have not established the point of conversion. At what point a plasma becomes matter? And at what point matter becomes plasma? Or as we call plasma, a collection of magnetic fields with common denominator strength value. Because that common strength value denomination is what decides the size and the volume of a plasma. It's not coincidental. It is not by accident that every electron in the universe, in our universe, has a specific bandwidth of energy, a volume. And at the same time, its proton has the same strength and volume. What dictates these? What field forces dictates the size of a plasma? This is what we need to understand. This is what most of the teaching of today will be. Today, we go in a soft way, but to the edge of science of man. We break through, or we try to break through, that mankind understands this process. As knowledge seekers, if you cannot understand the process of the size and the volume of the plasma, there is no way you can expand the size of the soul of the man, to expand beyond the physical boundary of the man's body. And this is what will come very, very clear in the coming times of teaching. We know a neutron splits in the electron and the proton. But how can and what does dictate this separation? At what point the split comes? And in that process, can the proton extend its strength that covers the electron and brings it to be within? This is the process, what we call interfusion, interatomic fusion. And I've written a paper about this, which is published. And in a way, interatomic fusion, where the soul of the body of the man extends itself in a strength that within it covers the physicality of the man. Because the physicality of the man itself is an electron. It shows itself because the proton or the center, or the soul of the man, does not allow the expansion.
I think we've lost sound there, Mr. Keshe.
In the center of the brain of the man, we consider to be the electron, to be a very little one. But if you look, there is a discrepancy in the transfer of knowledge, in understanding of the knowledge. In the world of atomic physics, we see a proton serene and electron moving. In the world of creation, when the plasma and the matter comes, the matter moves. The proton, as the look of it, moves. But in fact, the proton sits in the center. Is the electron the physicality, or is the physicality the proton? That it has encapsulated the soul of the man, which is the true proton. this is where mankind will have a problem in a coming time in depth of space to convert from the soul of the man to the physicality, at the same time changing the physicality to the soul of the man in a dimension of field forces, but separately operating within each other. Part of the teaching of today and in coming time is to explain that how come when it comes to the matter state of the manifestation, what we call electron become stationary, which is the physicality of it. But in being able to physically move, but the soul of the man, which is the proton, again becomes stationary, but controls everything. In a way, is an inside out compared to the atomic physics. In atomic physics, we look at an atom, proton is serene in the center, electron moves. In the combination of the gas plasma technology, which is the body of the man, in manifestation with the field outside, which is the physicality of the existence of this planet with its fields, the soul of the man, which is the most powerful one, and the real center of the what we call existence, becomes stationary and accepts position within the center of the brain of the man. One of the biggest problems is to understand the separation point in how we can change the environment in a magnetic field strength, not in a matter state, that we allow this serene proton in the center of the brain of the man be able to expand maybe to the boundary of the electron itself, which is the body of the man, or beyond it. This is why in the coming time, when man travels the depth of the universe, will find itself with one soul consistently, but different physicalities. As the physicality is the response of that electron in respect to the environment, where the soul consistently is protected within. This will bring mankind to 2 points in the future of the space technology. Man will have the fear to understand the process of the expansion of the universe, and the same with his soul in a magnetic field strength, or man will walk away from the whole understanding of the process of the creation, as he cannot comprehend the whole process. This is why some of us in the time of the space travel will stay behind, and some of us will move to the dimension and direction of being able to expand the soul of the man beyond the physicality, and due to his strength, protect it, and then we become the true travelers. Those who go through this phase will need no flying. They can travel the dimension of the universe, and in that process, they can travel with no limitation. Those of us who cannot go through this transition will choose the physical means, UFOs, and everything else you call it, the spaceships. And this process will affect mankind deeply. Your child can do, you can't. Your grandchild can do, you can't. Then it'll bring a new ways of understanding, a need to understand why some of us can and some of us can't. Some of us can expand the dimension of the soul of the man beyond the physicality, or be able to bring the dimension of the soul of the man to the boundaries of the physicality. In the coming time, the Keshe Foundation will introduce a new plasma detection or manifestation system, where you can stand in front of the system And in a way, by training and absorbing energies within the boundary of the system, to be able to expand your soul or the energy of the center of the body of the man beyond the physicality, where you shall not see anymore. But to you, on a vision of the physicality of the man, you see lights. In a way, your physicality still can exist within the boundary of the plasma, of the proton, of the soul of the man, and will not see anything by light. In so many ways, we see this at the point of death. This is the point where many people who reach this point will come to understand they see the light. They see the light of the soul of themselves, not something outside. Because when the physicality in the dimension of its dynamic magnetic fields stops, the soul, the proton can expand. And in a way, the physicality becomes irrelevant. And now we understand why up to now we could not explain this fully. Because we see the light. Many of us who go through this post, through this position, as still there are fields within the line of the physical vision of the man to his nervous system, will see the interaction of the expansion of the field of the soul of the man expanding out, and the interaction of the fields. Like the way we see the interaction of the fields of the sun and the earth creating the light, blinds the man with the light. And at that point, if we could bring the magnetic field of the what we call the dimension of physicality, which is the blood circulation, under control, then we can keep the physicality still alive, but allowing the soul to extend. Then we come to understand a new phenomenon. How do we control the strength of the fields of the blood of the man that allows the physicality to be encapsulated with the field strength of the soul of the man? Or at the same time, being able to communicate between the two, where we can allow the drop in common denominator field strength between the soul of the physicality and the soul of the man that allows the soul to expand symmetrically, not directionally or as a streamline. In a way, when we find a weakness in this process, our soul finds a path to outside. We call it a dream. But now the whole understanding comes. How does the man in the domain of physicality learns to allow the soul to extend beyond it, but still be aware that in that position, he shall not see anything but the light. And that light is the interaction of the soul of physicality with the soul of the man himself, not the creator. In that point, there is no point of physical emotion touch, because every cell of the man has become part of the physical structure of the plasma of the physicality, or what we call in the Gans state. Then there is a need for awareness that we're still what we call the structure of the communication and interface in the physical dimension, we call it the brain, can move outside than within, that it can communicate with the soul of the man. And in that point, when the soul sees the right place, the right condition, can revert back to the dimension of physicality and take its position in the center of the what we call control interactions between the soul of physicality to create the dimension of the physical man, irrespective of the position, time, and the place. In the world of science, this cannot be done. But you as knowledge seekers can start. In the coming days, Keshe Foundation is going through this test. As part of the transmutation and transportation of the Keshe Foundation, within next few hours and days, we will be testing this, where we allow the what we call transmutation and transportation not only to be in the essence of the physical movement, but allowing the expansion of the soul of the man within the new environment we create. The understanding for the man is how he will be able to go through the transmutation. In so many ways, how can we go from the plasma, expanding it to cover the physicality, but at the same time be able to do the reverse? In a way, if you understand the totality of the creation, it's very simple. How do I move you from one to another? And when the time comes right, and when the whole process is in the protection of the cell, I can go back to what it was, where the physicality takes the dimension and the soul goes back to be in its position. The problem you will have is this chap. The speed that you can transmute between the two. Our children, which are created from the soul of the man, will do this very simply. But for those of us who are created in the dimension of physicality, there's transmutation, the speed of what you call light, but in fact, the transmutation of the cell to the matter and the matter to the cell as a plasma will become the cornerstone of the future work. In so many ways, mankind has to understand. Mankind has no choice but to understand this process. The biggest problem for mankind is when the three become one. This is what you will have a problem with. In so many ways, on one side you're the soul. Going through the light, you become the matter. But in what speed you transmute, and would the effect of physicality in a matter state of the point destination absorption will be dictated by the plasma of the soul of the man in interaction with this environment, or primarily the soul of physicality with this environment. In a way, if you understand this, it becomes very, very simple game to play. The simplicity comes in a very funny way, because what's going to happen is you can dictate in what shape you want to manifest yourself in a dimension, in a new environment, which you have manifested yourself. In neutron, it splits in a very fast way and goes through the process. But in that process, it loses part of it, what we call electron, to keep its balance. But can we do the same with the soul of the man? Expanding the soul to a new dimension, but breaking away from the field forces of the creation in the point of interaction and manifestation. In a process of understanding the fields of the creation, mankind will have to understand this process. the way we change clothes when we go from the warm to cold, or we go from cold to warm. We have to learn the same process, which fields we need not to overdo, but to be just enough in respect to the environment of its presence. In so many ways, I can explain this in a very simple way. If we get, or we consider this body as the new environment, this is where we are, as we live. And in the transmutation and transportation of fields of the universe, we manage to do one thing, and that is, we manage to move the soul into a new position. But how do we carry the physicality into the new environment? This is 1G, this is 20G, but the soul has reached the point. How is it going to manifest itself in a physical dimension? Does it need to, or would it matter appears in a matter state, or the field forces of the new environment forces the man to appear as a light? Because this is the only way it sees itself, in being able to exist in the new environment. But we do this in the sleep. We allow the soul to travel, but has a hold on the dimension of physicality. The biggest problem, as I said, for mankind will come when you come back as a soul to the old, back to earth. Would you have the same physicality? Would I recognize you as the man who left with the original feature, or shall I have a new face? Would my children recognize me as the father who was, or be a new face they have to get used to? But again goes with the same thing. In what speed of light, or would I manifest myself as a light in a new dimension? The most important part for most of you knowledge seeker is your hypocrisy to see this, to believe it. But the hypocrisy comes that you dream about the Father, even he's not here, and you recognize the soul and the field of the soul, even the Father is dead. And with this process, you try to mismatch, to fit into physicality and the plasma of life of the soul of the man, and it doesn't fit. And this is why many knowledge seekers are in a dilemma. I want to see the soul of myself, then I believe it. I have a very simple answer for you. Even the Creator hasn't seen himself as he is manifested in the dimension of the soul of the man. We have to understand this process. We have no option. Those of you who want to be able to see your soul, you'll wait for a long, long time. Because, as I said, even the Creator has not seen himself in the dimension of the soul. Because it's impossibility. And you will see this will be the biggest argument for many of you who become the traveler of the space, as you will appear in the dimension of the physicality or light, but in so many ways, you shall never see the soul of the man. Unless some of you become very clever and create the mirror for the soul. This is the hypocrisy that many of you will use to confirm your ignorance of the existence, where by the time you close your eyes, this expands beyond and travels to another dimension. And in so many ways, the father dead is met and talked to in his environment. And you say, I had a dream, I met my father. He is not physically existent, but the soul connected to his soul allows you to see him in the dimension of physicality as you remember, even though in the new dimension, he might look like this, as a flower, to the people who are in that dimension. The field strength of what you call the Father is that telephone number which you have at the strength of your field in the dimension of your soul. This process will keep you busy for centuries, thousands of years, if you don't understand it. If you are ignorant still, to cover yourself with the dimension of, when I see it, I believe it. In a way, wait. The Creator has been waiting from the beginning of the time of the creation. And that's why he created Eve, to confirm the love of his existence, as it's the only way that he can manifest himself to confirm his own existence. In so many ways, as I said many times in the recent past, if you read these three books and understand it in the essence through, is word by word, a mixture of the two or three, then you understand the true meaning of the creation. Everything mankind needs to know to become the travelers of the space and level of physicality or the soul are in these three books. It's how you understand it according to your intellect and according to your prejudices more than your intellect. The ignorance of the man will come from his prejudices into what is being told and what is being learned. Yesterday, I was talking to the most senior nuclear physicist of the nation. And the day before yesterday. And he brought me to a question. Such a man who heads as the most senior nuclear physicist has a dilemma to understand the process of the field transfer. How do we expect from a man, ordinary man on the street, to understand it? But we see those who become nuclear physicists in the dimension of the limits of the knowledge of the physics, they get trapped with this one. If we can show them the light, they'll find the soul, they'll find the understanding, and then maybe they can translate this to those who have a problem with this. But in reality, all of us do dream. We feel a dream. We taste the food. We feel the touch of the mother. We remember the caresses of the touch. We remember the colors she wore or the colors of the dresses she wears at the present time with us. But we always had a line transfer transmutation we call the filter of the brain of the man in communication between the two. And this is where all of, not only human race, but all the races in the universe run into problem when they want to see a plasma when you are within the plasma yourself. Many of you will come to question your integrity, your sanity, when it comes to be able to understand this process. Because it doesn't fit into what you've been taught. As I said, nuclear physicists tell me it doesn't fit into what I've been told, Mr. Keshe, what I've been trained, and I accept it. But now, as I said, move on. Move on into inside. Don't stay outside. Move in the house and taste this, the food, smell the odor of the inside. Try to understand a new dimension. In the physical dimension, everything has to be tangible or visible that we accept it. But in the dimension of the soul of the man and the plasma of the fields of interaction, there is no such a thing. You feel the strength of the fields. You feel the dimension and the strength of these fields. How does it centralize? How is it created? What leads to the creation of it? Rick, can you play the first video you showed, the one I sent you this morning? In so many ways, if you can share it, please. In so many ways, this is a beautiful video. Explains a lot of things about the world of creation. I was fortunate a few days ago to be in a place where it was in front of me. I could explain and see the world of creation, the creation of black hole, the creation of the soul, the creation of how the fields in interaction with their environment bring this position. Can you come up with a video, Rick?
Yes, here we go.
Please. You have a look and see this video. It's taken in a water pool, and you see the rotation of the fields. You see how there is nothing, but as the environment of the flow of the water outside increases, then you see the change. You see the existence. We see a shadow, Rick, is covering the whole thing. You have to take your shadow away. Can you're superimposing a shadow on the whole thing. Can you start it from the beginning, please?
I'm not sure about the shadow thing. Let me try it again here.
Yep. We see like an L shape in the picture. Can you take it out and replay it again? Yep. Okay, it's correct now. Go back to the beginning of the tape, please, from the beginning.
Do you want the sound as well, Mr. Keshe?
Yes.
Okay, we'll put that up a bit here.
Can you play?
There you go.
If you look at this is the second video or the first one. This is the, if you look how the black hole or the field flow comes in, the water coming from different dimensions into this pool shows you how the fields change and how rapidly out of nowhere a field flow creates a black hole. Scientists for centuries, thousands of years have been waiting. You see the shadow of the man crossing it. This is the beauty of it, if you understand. You see there are 2 or 3 different directions under the bricks where the water comes in and changes the environment. We lost it again, Rick. You see half of the picture, yeah. And you come to see the field forces, the vortexes of the fields of the water are still there. But as the fields outside through the inlets of the waters into this pool changes, everything changes and it comes back to itself. Can you show the second video, please? This is the best one. If you have a look at this one, how fields broken up, they gather, they come in, they pull in at the same time as the paint disappears. And suddenly the right strength manifests the soul. Now you see it appears and takes shape. We haven't changed anything. You see how soul moves, but you still see the outer circle. And how we can transmute and transport in so many ways fields of the universe. We see the creation of the black hole and how it's done. And if you look at it, the direction and the rotation is very much different. This, in fact, shows us a lot in how we will manifest ourselves in the new dimension and the new environment. The change of the environment comes from the flow of the water inside from different directions. But the structure within, which is the soul, has still got its strength. You still see the field flowing. And then when it comes to the point, the soul takes over. It shows the field flow dimension. As a plasma physicist, as a nuclear physicist, this confirms even the first paper I wrote, the creation of the black hole. Fields coming out as much as they go in and going in every dimension. It's the environment which creates different shadows. It's the environment we got back on the track. This is what Rick has found, recently released by the scientific world as the latest picture from a black hole. You see the same field. You see the arrows or the strings of the field forces into the center. But the most important thing for us is, what are those gaps which show us the field? Are those gaps where the fields are of a different strength, or are those gaps where the fields come out of the source at a higher strength in a narrower field? Thank you very much, Rick. In so many ways, if you put the two pictures next to each other, you will see and understand the total new concept about the soul of the man. How we can extend the soul of the man beyond the limitation. How we can bring the total understanding to this process. It's the environment of the pool, the way the waters come in, changing the dimension and the strength, which changes the manifestation of the physicality in the shape of the black hole. In so many ways, mankind needs to understand this process. How do you strengthen the size of the soul to become bigger, to overcome the physicality and cover the physicality within? In so many ways, we have reached this point, and we have to understand this point. We have to comprehend the totality to be able to transmute between the soul of the man to the physicality, irrespective of position and space, where the two interact, the two communicate, the two become one, that it says, here is a danger, I'm going in, you take over. Where what we will see is only the light. In a way, the two interact, that only one manifests itself. Can we go on the camera, please? Can we go on the camera? Thank you very much. In a way that what we see is, we only see the light. The physicality comes in between, and the soul becomes the center. And when the position is right, when the field strength of the environment is right, when the communication between the two parts become one to feel safe and to manifest, we play the game back, where the light become fading in the background and physicality become the manifestation. prophet of God have reached this point. And those of the mankind who become pure in soul, understanding the process of the what we call balance and unity, will reach this point. Many of us, the only thing, if we are lucky to see, is the light when the demise of the physicality has taken over and only the soul of the man exists. And this is the point that many of you will fail. That you become the light without the dimension of physicality because you left the physicality behind in the world of the matter state of the earth. This is what becomes the next step. This is how we have to understand the total process. And in so many ways, when you even move this out of the way, you become the light. And in this process, you become the creator. So there is not much difference to go from being the soul of the man to the dimension of physicality to become the light. As I said many years ago, I am the light. Because this is how we see the expansion of the creation and the dominion of the creator. In so many ways, we become part of the totality. In so many ways, mankind has two choices. Which way would you like to sit? From my point of view or your point of view? Would you like to sit in the dimension of physicality, or do you want to sit in the dimension of the soul? And this is what many of you start running into problem with. Where do you want to be? And how do you want to be seen in the dimension of creation? Even the books have a problem in trying to find out what they want to be. So, where do we go? And how do we teach you to be able to transmute in all three dimensions? And how do you assess this? As I said, many of you who are foolish will have a thing, a barrier to move forward. And that is, I believe it when I see my soul. I accept it when I see my soul. Stay in the dilemma and doldrum of your fathers. And one day, you only be aware of the existence of the soul as your conduct has decided its position and the place. As we've seen in the interaction with the field of its environment. Many of you will break through the light. And in that process, breaking through the light, you'll come to understand one reality, that we all end up in one dominion or the other, in the interaction of the fields of the environment, which will dictate our manifestation, will dictate our possession and our position. We possess none except the fields which we have interacted, and we will create the condition of the position when the balance fields of the soul in respect to its environment takes hold. In a way, your physical manifestation of present time is due to the interaction of the fields of the soul with the interaction of the field of the environment of the earth. When you don't carry the physicality, where is the dominion and the transmutation of the soul of the man? Where would you end up? in what condition, even on earth, would you be able to manifest yourself? In the coming time, and through the fields and interaction of the fields, and understanding of the process of the creation, with the tools which will be provided for you to be able to see this without the loss of this. But that process will become very difficult for many of you, that you will deny your own existence. Because how can you be aware of the physical existence when your soul is not within the structure of the physicality of the body? In so many ways, goes back to what I said many years ago. As we understand this process fully, you give me a skull of a man, I will create that man for you. Maybe now you understand why. As the strength of the field of the soul of the man, in respect to his behavior and dimension to live, will create that skull, that physicality. Once you give me the skull, I have the cage to imprison the soul. Then, in time, mankind will understand how the whole structure of the creation in the universe has taken different shape and dimensions. The best place to start with is to be the light, because then you can choose each dimension. The light means to be the field and nothing else. The light, it means to be the plasma of the fields of the creation that in interaction with this environment leads to creation of the physicality or creation of the soul of the. This is where the theology and the world of science meet. And for those of you who understand this process, will have a field, will be the most beautiful time, where, especially with your children, in the dimension of the soul, you shall never see the physicality, but you confirm their existence through the interaction of their fields and the emotion they create as light within you. In so many ways, you can make what you call the lover in any shape or dimension and dominion as your soul fits, to be happy, to be in that dimension and direction. Mankind is going through a transition of knowledge exchange. Mankind is going through a condition in understanding the two sciences of the creation and the physicality. In so many ways, as mankind has been so physical, mankind has problems in comprehending the totality. Many of you will deny your creator, because this way you justify your meager existence. And many of you will take the path to the creator, and by the beauty of what is to create by itself through your soul, you'll come to accept the totality of the existence and the creation and the creator. We make the canvas. It's you who paints the picture. We make available the beauty of the creation. It's you who has to enjoy the beauty of this created. In so many ways, in the condition as you saw in that pool, as the water flow changed, the soul changed, but in essence it's the same soul. We will create the conditions for you to see yourself in different dimensions of physicality, but within one environment. As I said, I will show you one drop in one water tank. And that drop will become a fish or the man by predetermining what will be the environment of that water. Don't forget, the man floats in the womb of the mother in the water from the beginning. Would we be able to show your own physicality in that tank, in a dimension the way you were in the womb of the mother? And then you take shape in the way that you feels correct in that environment. In so many ways, in the future time, mankind will be able to take his soul in that fish tank. And depending on the temperature and the field forces, not the tank filled with water, but the tank filled with different field strength, the pool of the fields and the pool of water, then you will see how your soul in interaction with the environment will manifest itself in a dimension of physicality. In a way, we can create the atmosphere, physical pressure, what we call magnetic and plasmatic fields of the Mars, and you will see how you will manifest yourself on Mars. And then when we go to Mars, are we looking for a man with two legs, or we find out that life on Mars is in the shape that we become witness to it. In so many ways, mankind will have a fingerprint of its own soul, but in essence, different fingers, and in so many ways, different papers that the finger leaves as imprints. Today's teaching and the teachings to come works in that direction, as we said many times in the recent past. Is awareness of the creation and awareness of the created and awareness of the creator become the essential part of the essence of the what we call existence of the man on this planet and beyond. We can create enhancement. We can create as many different versions of the environment. If the soul of the man is not matured to detach itself for a dimension of physicality, but knowing that the physicality exists within him, there's no use. As I said, when you go into the enhancement unit, we outside will see the light, but you inside, you're totally unaware of. As the soul of the man bypasses and overtakes the physicality of man in the dimension of totality. One interesting point, as I said in one of the teachings, the man in the dimension of physicality creates a shadow of itself in respect to the field of environment. As we saw in that pool, would the soul of the man create the shadow of itself that leads to the confirmation of existence of itself in the environment exists? And the question to ask is very simple. Was that black hole, that vortex of the attraction of the lights in that pool, was the vortex aware of its own manifestation? And if it was he aware of its shape? Or his shape and his manifestation and its soul appeared and disappeared according to the environment which is changed in that pool by the flow of the waters. These waters are not all the same temperature. They're coming from different directions and positions in different areas into the pool. But there is a reality which you have ignored and you were not aware of. Look at the same video again. You will see that the hole, the suction hole, is somewhere here. And the shadow and the black hole here. Depending on the light of the sun which shines on it, depending on the field flow of the water into the pool, you see how this black hole moves closer or away or in different dimensions to the pool, to the suction point. Is that suction point the point of creator where we all get sucked into and manifest in different shape or form in the cycle of the what we call the black hole in the environment of the pool? This pool we saw is a closed circuit. It's like the universe sucks in the same water, pulls it out in 2 different systems or 3 different systems, and feed back itself into it. It's a replication of the creation where we make an intention, but the physicality doesn't exist as the interaction of the fields has made that shadow. With the interaction of the fields of the creator, which is the sun shining. But in reality, it's a mirage. We cannot go and touch it. We cannot pick it out of the water. But we see its implication, application, and its shadows on the surface of the pool. To a plasma physicist, when I look at things like this confirms the totality of the knowledge of the creation in the dimension of physicality. And in so many ways, when you see what takes in and you see you are made, you look like existing, but you are nothing but mirage. The physicality of the man is nothing but a mirage. It's us who decides in which shape and how we manifest this mirage to be tangible by the others or physically visible by us. In so many ways, mankind needs to learn. Mankind needs to understand that his creation is the same as that vortex, the same black hole. You saw how little bits came and then suddenly made it. Those little bits are the sperms and the egg and the field forces of the womb of the mother, and suddenly it creates that soul, and that soul takes shape. And that soul in interaction with the light of the beauty of the creator shows itself, but in reality it doesn't exist. And this is us, this is our soul. This is what we fight for, which we're not worth fighting for. In so many ways, has man matured to understand this? And let go of it, you see, suddenly the black hole disappears, and then it goes through the water, through the hole, and it comes back and manifests the new soul. But it's the same fields, it's the same strength fields, it's the same pump, it's the same pipes, it's the same structure. Then mankind would understand more. Mankind understands the totality of the creation, from the creator to what it pulled out and what it pulled in, and what the interaction of different fields leads to creation of the man, the moon, the Mars, the galaxies, and the universes, is all due to the pool of the fields, which we call the creator. How these waters interact will dictate our manifestation of transformation of existence. And in so many ways, mankind has to become very, very much aware that he is nothing but a bunch of fields. And once the environment changes, the confirmation of his existence is very dodgy. It's very fragile. It's very much I exist as long as the earth exists, as long as the fields of the sun reaches the earth, and can manifest my existence and confirmation of me receiving food or energy from it. at the same time, this sun itself is so fragile that it depends on how the fields of the thousands of millions of hundreds, thousands of millions of stars in one galaxy decide its position, its strength, and its manifestation. And then go from galaxies to universe and universes to unicos. Then you understand all fields come from the center. And it's all that mixing pot. How close do you want to be to that point? How close do you want to exist to confirm your manifestation in that point? I'm detached, but I enjoy the time of attachment because it's what it adds to the fields which will make me in the time to come. And in so many ways, the time has come that we understand the totality of the creation. Do we need confirmation of existence through manifestation of physicality, or do we accept that the soul of the man exists and it manifests itself wherever in the dominion of the Creator decides to manifest itself, to confirm its existence? As I said, many of you, most majority of you, will deny the teaching because your excuse is very weak. I cannot see anything, so I don't believe in it. Ask you, answer you with one thing. Do you see your own physicality? Then it exists. It's you who's denying its own existence, your own existence. This way, we do what we like and we preach the lines. This is what I always say, ask for what you need, and if you are given, is your right. Because it's the way the souls work, it's the way the fields of the interaction of the creation does and manifests itself by being given and being receiving. Those of you who will sit back and wait for the day when I see it, I believe it, no problem. You'll never see it, as you're blind to confirmation of your own existence in the physical dimension. And in so many ways, mankind needs to move on. For those who have become intellectually mature in the dimension of physicality, that they can lead, they can bring their souls to a higher dimension. A few words, but a lot of meaning. A few minutes of teaching, but the cycle of the creation of billions of years to understand. In so many ways, how detached are you from the dimension of the attachments to the dimension of physicality? And in so many ways, is mankind ready to move into the next dimension? In the coming time, many of you, through the teachings and understanding of the path to find your way into the universal dominion without the use of physicality or what you call a spaceship, will come to enjoy this. You come to enjoy these teachings because it has opened the path for you to the line of the Creator. In so many ways, we tend to ignore due to the lack of understanding. We tend to rely on ignorance, not to accept the reality. And we try to understand what is actually very easy to comprehend because we have made it difficult for ourselves. We have made it impossible for ourselves to be able to live and to exist. In so many ways, as has been said, I made man in the image of myself. Can I have the facility to be able to share a screen, please? In so many ways, mankind needs to evolve a step further. Mankind needs to understand its process of creation. Mankind needs to understand himself in true essence of the fields and interaction of the fields of the universe. In so many ways, mankind needs to understand one thing. Do I want to be the creator or created? Or through the creation, I become the creator. In confirmation of the existence of the soul of the creator, I confirm my own existence. And what is happening around is confirmation of my physicality, depending on where and how I be in respect to the environment of the totality of the creation. Maybe now you understand, even in the womb of the mother, why we need two patterns. That the interaction of the two in leading to creation of one leads to the manifestation of physicality in the environment of the what we call the womb of the mother, or the womb of the universe. As even the earth has a twin, even the sun has a twin, and in that process, within the environment of the field of the womb of the mother, or this planet or this universe, we confirm our existence. Do we need to confirm our existence in the dimension of physicality or in the dimension of the soul? As I said, there is a lot of work going on in the background, and the systems which are getting developed will allow us to create and control this environment. And then I wonder, what would you manifest yourself as we change this environment within the system? Would you go from the transition of the soul of physicality to the soul of the man and become aware of the light? Or would you go from the other way around and you see the light? But would the two lights would be the same? And in that process, would you be able to confirm your existence as you have moved from one to another and you become what we call aware of your own existence? In a way, as I said in one of the teachings, is the apple which calls you to eat me and you think I eat it because I need it. But in reality, is the soul which brings you to the point that you manifest yourself and live the life. Ask yourself why I'm in this position and in this place, as why my soul has brought me to this point. That what is the purpose of my life and what is the objective of reaching this point in creation. In so many ways, mankind needs to become a little bit more aware of his own existence. Mankind needs to become very much aware of understanding of the totality. How do we join in when we cannot understand what is the playground? How can we enjoy when we don't see we are going to be as part of? We got to be aware of the totality. We got to be aware of what we want to be. In so many ways, what is our destiny? and what is our destiny? And why are we born in this time, this place, this position? To serve what? To bring what into the dimension of the creation? In so many ways, mankind needs to become kind to himself. Mankind needs to understand what kind of a man he wants to manifest himself in the dimension. And then understand the purpose of the life. Understand the purpose of why we are here at this position and time. And what have we added and what is our purpose to add to in what is to come. Dimension of physicality is totally irrelevant. That's the dimension of the soul which counts. The dimension of the free fields, which in its interaction with the field of the planet leads to manifestation of your physicality. As every soul has different strength and combination, it creates an interaction with the field of the earth, which is self-dynamic and changing, a new man, a new being, according to the field of strength. The soul of an ant, in interaction with the field of the earth, creates that ant. Because the size, the position, and the purpose fits the total soul of the existence of the totality of all the souls within this planet. And the soul of the man, which is created within the womb of the mother, decides in interaction with all the field forces which created the soul of the mother and the father to lead to manifestation of the what we call the fields of the soul that leads to the interaction in the womb of the mother to the field of the physicality and manifestation of physicality. In so many ways, the way we take a brush and we mix it in different colors and paints, and we draw on a canvas and we create a picture. In the coming time, we'll show you that we can do the same with the fields and lead to creation of whatever we need on the canvas of the life of the universe. In so many ways, mankind, with the gain of the new knowledge, should be able to draw the environment that that canvas needs to be shown and to be seen. In time to come, we will change a lot of things. As I said, as we walk away from the dimension of physicality, the interaction of the field forces of the universe in interaction with the soul of the man dictates the manifestation and the point of manifestation of the man. In time to come, and in the teachings to come, I'll explain these in more detail. I'll bring you to see, to face with the strength of the soul of yourself, which means we give the dimension of physicality, what we call the knowledge, the know-how, and the strength of the soul. I wonder how many of you will create that soul, that interaction with your own soul will become one. And would there be a dimension of physicality for you to exist? You have to understand you cannot prejudice. You cannot be prejudiced at all. If you mix a dough with a given measure, with a certain amount of flour and the exact amount of the butter and the salt and the sugar, you always more or less consistently get the same. So this time the dough is the field of existence of your existence. And we give you the dough. We give you all the ingredients. Would you dare to mix it to see your soul? And then would you be able to see it as you become part of it? You bring your own self to the dimension of no physicality. In so many ways, mankind is reaching the point that he can become that point. He can become the center of the light. He can become the source, part of the source, in a way to become part of the Creator, as we saw with the water. As it flew in and it came back out, it created different mirage of the physicality. Many of you will have problem with this. Many of you will commit suicide in the dimension of the soul, as you will not accept in the dimension of physicality. When we call it a suicide, is not to take life, is in the way not to accept the condition of the field forces, which leads to your creation dimension of physicality. Maybe today's teaching is too deep for many of you to understand. Maybe today's teaching opens many of you, your eyes or your intellect to understand the process of the creation. Maybe this is what we call to introduce to you the new way of teaching. Not with the machines, but how you control the strength of the fields of your physicality in the soul of the physicality to allow the soul of the man to extend beyond, to become that proton and what it was, electron covering a proton. In a way, when we look at the nuclear physics and we see that bright spot rotating around the proton, if we increase its speed, if we increase its agility in conformation of interaction with the field of the center of proton, it will become so fast that it creates a light around the proton, even the proton is inside. And that light, in the dimension of we accepting it, becomes us in a physical dimension. This is what it is. And this is how the physicality takes over and hides the soul of the man within it. We create too many souls. We create too many miniature souls. We call it the cells that in their souls blind us to see the proton inside. We camouflage it because we interact with the fields of this planet, and in a way we collaborate to hide the soul in the dimension of the physicality. Because if you look at the structure of the body of the man, it's collection of the fields, collection of souls, that these souls are so densely packed that they have managed to hide the soul of the man itself within it, which is the more powerful. Go back to the teaching of last week, where I said in a very simple way, where I drew what I call the electron and a proton. If you remember, in a cluster of cells, and I explained the position of the electron, and I said the furthest connected to the center, the one which is more in the center. Now you understand maybe how your physicality has taken these neutrons, these cell centers, to cover the totality of the soul of them. As we have created so many of them around the soul itself, that it has covered the man in the dimension of physicality. But in essence, the soul of the man, the creator, is within the center. We have, in a way, colluded with the field forces of the environment to create and manifest many, many little things to blind ourselves to the dimension of his existence in the center of the body of man. And how can we reverse the position that in one interaction, in one process, the soul of the man can expand beyond the boundary and cover the soul of the man, the physicality of the man, and in that process, it still exists. But the biggest question is, would it have this shape within the soul of the man? Or we become one waiting for to be manifested in the future of time and space. This is part of what many of you will have a dilemma with. And in that process, you will understand the totality. What would be the future of mankind? What would be the future of the soul of mankind? Would we create children from the soul than the physicality and allow them to take dimension and love them the same? We know the process. It's for the man to accept. It's for the man to understand the dimension of physicality is not necessarily non-existence of the soul. If you understand this, maybe we ask one more question. And that is, have we become so ignorant and so arrogant that want to see the soul of the Creator that confirms the existence of us? And are we humble enough to become that electron? Then by creation of totality of the fields, we become those cells which we have covered the soul of the Creator within. And that's what exists within us, within the center of our existence. As I said, as a nuclear physicist and the man who's been in the depth of the knowledge of the creation, life becomes very simple. Life becomes very understanding. But as I said, we have a time we have to pass in the dimension of physicality. And in so many ways, this change of the clothes in a coming time will be change of the strength of the cells of the man. That man needs no physical clothes. And then we dictate the dimension of manifestation. And then would be all shine like the lights. And this is how it will come to be. And mankind will become so mature to this point. I hope that we all understand this position. And sooner or later, we stop asking the question, when I see something, when I see my soul, I believe it. This is the Western behavior that I can fool you as long as you cannot see what you believe in. And this has to end. In a way, ask yourself one question. Why my soul has brought me to this point? And what is the purpose of my life? To deliver, to be the provider, to be the one who sustains the environment of the fields of the universe for it to exist. In any case, mankind has a lot of work to do. A lot of understanding. And a lot of what you call soul searching. But remember one thing. It goes back to the beginning of the teaching of today in many ways. You have to be able to control the strength of the field of the soul of physicality through the dimension of operation of its physical dimension to be able to manifest the soul of the man or become aware to see the light of his existence. In so many ways, you don't need to go to a trance, but in so many ways, you need to understand the strength of the field of your own creation. I wonder how many of you have understood the teaching of today and how many of you will change the course of your life because you understood the truth. Which way do you want to live? From the plasma, soul of the Creator, to the soul of physicality, in the dimension of the soul of the Creator, to the dimension of the soul of physicality. And what kind of light would you create in both dimensions? Would it be like the blood of the man, which when goes out is brighter, and one which is consumed, his energy come back is slightly darker? Is that the behavior of the conversion of the fields into the dimension of physicality in the world of the creation for the man too? Which way it shine lighter and brighter? And what would it do with that as it gives life to the others in the dimension of physicality? Today's teaching is very heavy, if you understand. And it's very light, if be understood. But in time, many of the citizens of this planet and beyond will understand today's teaching, and it become a path for them to find a solution and salvation for the operation of their souls in the dimension of the creation. We go through a break and we come back. And I hope the questions we get is more mature in the dimension of the soul of man, not about the ganses and the friendly dog down the road. It's time to mature, and it's time to extend the knowledge beyond the dimension of physicality. And this is what the purpose of the teachings is and shall be. Are we ready to go on the break? Thank you very much. Welcome back to the second part of today's discussions and teaching. Are there any questions, Ray? Do you see any virtual hand or anybody shaking their head?
Let me allow people to raise their hands here. Okay, I see that's been allowed. So yeah, I'll make the usual announcement that people can raise their virtual hands here in the Zoom attendees list. So if you'd like to do that, if you have any questions, please raise your hand and we can allow you to speak. And can you hear me okay, Mr. Keshe?
Yep, loud and clear.
Okay, just a second. There we go. We've got a couple of hands up here now. So let's go ahead with Ed first. Then we have Brett after that.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Keshe, the question I've had during your teaching today that keeps coming to my mind is, in our existence at the soul level, is our confirmation of existence at the emotional level? Is that our experience?
Could be partial. But in a way, emotion is the where we get the confirmation of the interaction between the soul of physicality and the soul of. But the question for many of us will rise is that, do I feel this emotion with the soul of physicality or through the interaction of the soul of physicality with soul of the man? Or do I feel this emotion within the soul of? Because, as he said, I made man in the image of myself. So there is an emotion inside the soul of the man that manifests itself in the physicality of the man too. But we have to become aware of which one.
So is this
Which emotion? And as I said in the teachings before, we introduced you many new emotions that in the dimension of physicality doesn't exist. In the dimension of physicality, it's impossible to exist because the field of strength doesn't exist in that level in the matter state. Even though we are in a Ganser state within, in a way, you can explain it in a simple way, which is, this is the soul of the man. This is the physicality of the man. And this is the matter state where the man confirms existence. Is the dimension of physicality a transition time, where this is the source and this is the matter state? And then it comes to understand in which strength does the man interact, and at which point the physicality manifests itself. And this will be a part of the answer we have to have if we become the traveler of the space, because this environment dictates the position of the soul in the matter state and the time of the transition from the soul to physicality. Then maybe we have to ask, is the emotion is here or in this? Because we feel the emotion of the soul in a different way. It's instantaneous, does not wait. It responds immediately, and you become aware of it. And in so many ways, the closer you become to the soul, the more instantaneous becomes the interaction and response. Any other question?
So may I continue just a bit?
Yep.
So in a way, it comes to a new, the emotions that you're speaking of are something we may have never experienced in our physicality. And it's going to come down to our trust or acceptance of these new experiences that we have.
Possibly. Most probably, yes. And possibly, maybe. And in the dimension of physicality, the emotions and the strength of the emotion is very much different than the emotion and the strength of the soul of man. And in time, we'll come to understand that much easier in the coming time as we get more and more familiar with our own structure.
Thank you.
Any other question?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. If we could hear from Brett next.
Mr. Keshe, how are you, my friend?
Well, it's nice to see you still alive.
Yes. I did an experiment a wee whiles back, and I manifested little sparkles in between a funnel. And when I took my balls away, it manifested into an actual thing. So you could see the funnel, you could see the sparks running within it. But when I took my empty balls away, it manifested into carbon or some sort of carbon. It's not attracted to a magnet. Isn't this what you're talking about? In what you were talking about before with your book 1, book 2, and book 3, because everything that I understand is in pages 19 to 21 of book 1. And
So you got all the pages to read.
Yes, I got a lot of pages to go. I do. And this is the beauty of it. But my question is, when you see all the little sparkles going up through the funnel, when is a good time to tap into it? When you see the sparkles before or after you take your empty balls away from, now I'm only talking about a 2-cup, but the manifestation of the carbon came up in a funnel form. So
I don't understand exactly what you're talking about, unless you can show us some pictures.
Rick has a picture of it that I sent him. If he can bring that forward, otherwise I can send it to him again. But one has to understand that when I took away the 3 carriers, it manifested, boom, it was like a carbon lattice.
If you create energies or fields in motion, and you can bring them to the point that in respect to their environment, they can interact and release or become in unison partially with the environmental field forces, you lead to creation of matter. So the sparks you speak about, if it is there, and then it becomes like a carbon or whatever, this means that you have managed to transfer energy fields in interaction with the environment to the matter state. This is partially what we do in enhancement units, but we have a control over it to what material to be created and how to be created. In a way, if in the coming up time, you will see it because it's now developed, it's in the lab, is that if you go to, let's say, moon, and you want to produce gold, but you don't have the, what we call the strength field or whatever it is, or you lost the information somewhere, we can transmit for you from Earth to moon that in interaction with our fields transferred to you instantaneously, you can produce that material. Because we can create that condition. It's the line of interaction and communication. But would the gold, which you have yellow here, in the open atmosphere of the moon, will be still the yellow you know? Or would you have a different color? And so in converting energy into matter is something which gradually many of you will do. And one of the main topics of the work in the work within the space agencies is this. Because the first things we have to achieve in the upcoming space technology developments is to be able to show that we can produce the materials as we need, that in that extension, a lot of things will change in the space technology. No food, no water, no materials. We can plan excursions to build buildings on the Mars and Moon and beyond as we produce the materials which fits the environment and can absorb the fields of the environment. Exposure to cosmic rays on Moon is very much different than on Earth because it's not there as such, the atmospheric condition. So putting a brick or putting a aluminum framework where constantly absorbs high level of the cosmic rays is no good. Do we need to come up with a composite new materials, new dimensions to be able to exist in the new conditions? These are all part of what we experience and we know. And we have shown this unknowingly, but knowingly in the past year. I have spoken about it, and is partially we can even within the structure release plasmatic fields that within the ear of the man becomes noise, sound, and everything else, and nobody else can hear it. Now the technological achievement is that far. It does not matter how deep you're in Earth or you're hiding in mind. So you can produce. Anyone gradually, that's why we are teaching, is not just we are here, only one can do it. You knowledge seekers, as you experiment more, you develop more knowledge and know-how, you should all be doing. This is not a one-man show. This is all-man show. That all of you should be able to do what we teach. And gradually, one by one of you will follow. The sparks become the carbon, the sparks become gold, the sparks becomes water. It depends how you have created the composition of interaction of the fields. Any other question?
I was trying to look for the pictures. I've got some pictures from Brett. I'm not sure which ones you mean, Brett, that show sparks or whatever. Do you want me to show those, or are we done with that topic?
We're done with it.
Okay. Let's move along here. We've got, get back to my participants list here. Okay, we do have some questions in the Q&A that we should deal with. There's a question regarding salt, the proportions of salt and water in reactors. From Tulia via Liliana. So it's about the amount of salt in the reactors to produce GANs influences the power of the fields. What is the reason for the different proportions of salt and water in the reactors for the Life Cup and the zinc, copper, and iron GANs reactors? There's information with different proportions. What is the reason? So the basic question is, what is the role of the salt to water ratio in the reactors to produce GANs?
The salt is the balancer, is what dictates the environment allows to be created in the water. In a way, when you're looking at the whole thing, maybe as a knowledge seeker the wrong way. You have the container, you put your water in, you have your nanomaterial, and you have your cup. Then you have the residuals of salt. Whatever it is. Any kind of salt. These salts here are not in a matter state anymore. They are in the environment of the magnetic field of nanomaterial. So the behavior is not a salt, is creating gravitational field centers that in the interaction with the balance of the fields of the two plates leads to creation or creation of manifestation of the new fields you call the gases. The absorption of the what we call different salts or acidic condition, which is again is alkaline based on the weaker strength or the higher strength you look at, then you find out that the salts in so many ways are not in a magnetic field condition. They are, I mean, in a normal condition, they're in a magnetic field condition because, as I said, when you look at the structure, you put, but in fact, what you have is this combination of the field, the balance of it, because the Cl here interacts with the hydrogen and the water and creates acidic condition. It's not all pure alkaline or creation of gravity. And when the field balances between all this is left is what you get, the CO2, which to itself comes from the interaction of the field of the water, where the NaCl itself has separated ClH, which has taken the chlor with the hydrogen to make it the CO2 release. But these are all in a field strength, not in a matter state strength. And this is what most of the knowledge seekers don't understand, and they look at it. It is alkaline, yes, we create an alkaline condition, but because you're in a water environment, you always lead to creation of CO2 through the process, where the freedom of the O comes the interaction of the chlor with the hydrogen in the water. Then what you really look at is very much CLNA. this is how it breaks and sustains itself. But we don't look at it in the matter state, look at the gravitational field strength on top of each other, superimposed. So the salt is creation of the gravity in how much fields it will create and how much fields it will give to create that condition of the balance. It gives the energy equal to the amount of the hydrogen to be able to create that CHL, and by it to release the fields of the oxygen, which all are in a plasmatic condition. So the amount of salt percentage all dictates what will be available in this zone. You don't look at it in a matter state, you look at it at the what we call plasmatic state. Your salt is not in the matter state, water and salt. That nano plate has changed the new environment. You're in a new condition. You're in a new plasmatic field condition. Any other question?
Mr. Keshe, you had mentioned before that the salt percentage was increased to like 15% for the 1 cup, 1 life as part of, it was an emergency situation in order to make the process happen faster or produce more GANs in a faster way for that particular situation. Is that correct, in that normally you use maybe a little less salt percentage?
Yes, yes, we do. Depends what current you put through, depends what field strength you put through, all dictates, depends on the environment. You'll find out, as we said before, you create more CO2s if you're in the, what you call, city area, because there is more of it available. And the availability of more of it allows you to produce much more CO2. But if you try to produce copper oxide, you have a problem if you go on the slow case. If you are in the middle of the field somewhere or in the middle of desert, you have a problem creating CO2 as much. The salts will then dictate how much you can change it to speed up the creation of the field. You play with the salt content salinity to dictate the speed of the production in respect to the availability of the material in the environment. This is what your heart does. This is what your body does. This is how you create continuous salinity of given strength in your limbs, that the interaction of the blood and the current which comes through the nervous system will dictate the production of the GANs, which could be the cell of the body of the man, in the toe or in his heart. This is why we have the combination of different salts and different field strength, and then on top of it, where it creates the interaction of two, we call it emotion.
Okay, we have a couple of hands up here, Mr. Keshe Wallison, and followed by Bernie.
Olá, bom dia.
Do you need a translator?
Bom dia.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, Wallison. Do you need a translator?
Oi, tá me ouvindo?
Rafael, are you in the background?
Yeah. Raphael, go
watch
ahead.
him?
Tá me
Raphael
ouvindo?
can speak there. Go ahead, Raphael.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hello. Sim, Wallace, pode falar, por favor.
Tá conseguindo me ouvir?
Sim, tô te ouvindo, pode falar.
Bom dia para vocês aí. Bom dia para o senhor Keshe. Minha pergunta é sobre uma aula que teve anterior, acho que 372, sobre a caneta da saúde, que eu quero saber. A pergunta é a seguinte, foi falado pelo senhor Keshe que a quantidade de voltas, se 81 ou 82 voltas, e o diâmetro do fio de cobre usado, isso mudava o comportamento, né, adequado da caneta na função dela. Foi falado isso porque tem muita gente construindo mais graves, canetas, e acabam fazendo da forma que entendem e acabam não fazendo da forma correta. A questão é a seguinte, assim, em relação ao diâmetro e aumentar a quantidade de voltas, se a quantidade de cobre que é aumentada em massa altera nesse funcionamento correto da caneta.
Okay, so his question is about the teaching that you gave for us about the pen. So it was said long time ago that the quantity of turns that you have in your coil to make the coil for the pen and the diameter change the behavior of the pen. So he's saying that a lot of people are making this, so most probably a lot of them are not doing correctly, maybe because they don't know about this change. So he would like to know more about this, if the diameter and the turns of the coils can make a change in the effectiveness and the pen, and what is this change that can happen by the diameter and the turns?
The diameter, the thicker diameter gives you more what we call nano-coated area, more powerful field or more surface in the interaction of the field. The turn gives you more combination of the fields available. When you look at a coil, or you look at the coil different way, this coil has less nano field area than this one due to the surface area. But this one has less combination of fields interacting with each other, where here you have more combination of fields. So here you have possibly, let's say, 2, here you have 4 combination of fields, because here it's only this with this, where here is this with this, with this, with this, or this with this minus this one and this one. Or you have a field which could be these 3, where this one balances out. So when you have more turns, each one of these is different magnetic gravitational field strength, so you interact with more fields. And if you use it for a paint, this might be good for a small touch paint, but this will be good for a needle paint or a burn paint. You might not find this working as good in paint as does this one, because the paint of a burn is a multi layers or more cells. That's what the difference is. With this one, you create more surface, extending the power. Next question.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. We have Bernie here, who's had several questions in the Q&A. So perhaps he can have a chance to ask his questions here now. Bernie, can you go ahead?
Hello.
Yes, we hear you.
Hi, thank you.
If you could say where you're from first as well, thank you.
From Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Sorry, I'm just trying to read through my questions that I wrote. When Mr. Keshe refers to the field strengths of specific elements, is that what others call like the resonant frequency and vibration?
Can you repeat that?
So for specific elements, their field strength, when you're talking about like transmuting them or producing them in the electrolysis cold fusion reaction, is it
We don't
like
have any of these. We don't have a cold fusion. We're in a different field of knowledge.
Okay.
In a field of the Keshe Foundation, understanding the work of plasma fusion is a dream which will never come true. So it doesn't exist.
Okay.
You amalgamate fields, but you cannot create atomic, what we call fusion as you talk about, or catalyst. That's in the world of physics and chemistry. In the world of plasma, you decide a portion of the fields, and that portion gives you the material or the condition you want. Totally different ballgame. That's all fallacy and theory which is accepted because we couldn't understand it. Now we understand it, we know fusion is possible.
So you're talking then about standing waves of the fields coming out of plasma, yes?
Can you repeat?
So I'm not talking about like fusion as in the nuclear world of fusion. I'm referring to what you're saying of bringing matter out of the plasma field state. And that
we don't bring matter out of it. We create a condition that the interaction of the fields create manifestation. Totally different.
Okay.
This is, that's why we said it's a mist, and then you create a condition that becomes that drop. The environment, interaction of the fields of the environment leads to the condition of manifestation.
Okay, thank you. One more question is, with the space technology, is it simply astral projection of the consciousness, or do you create a physical plasma field like a plasma orb or a ball lightning, for instance?
Don't understand. Can you explain more?
The plasma technology behind the propulsion of your units.
We do not propel, we find position. And in the plasma technology, we tune to the field of and gravitational field of. Propulsion is when you bend something to propel yourself. We don't propel. We find a position in a strength in respect to each other.
That makes absolute sense. Thank you. I appreciate that and understands the different dynamic between the two. Thank you.
Very much. In the world of space technology, in the past or up to now, we rely on extending increasing field forces to find as creating motion. We follow Newton's laws. In the world of plasma, we do not have such a position. We follow the strength of the field and interaction between the fields. And this is important to understand. Propulsion is matter state condition and matter use, where plasma technology and space technology is positioning in interaction of fields. There is no such thing as propulsion in plasma technology. Actually, NASA does. NASA has got a team working on what we call propulsion plasma reactors, which are hoping will be ready by 2030. They propose them to moon within 4 hours. You know, the guy who's heading this operation is one of the most frequent travelers, pilots of shuttle technology. He's from South America. And now he's been put to head the what we call the propulsion in plasma technology of the NASA. And when you speak to him, he's very clear. He says, I'm here just because I've flown too many times. I have no clue what they want me to do. In a way, what do you create? Why do you need to burn a plasma? Then you can create a plasma, which is the fields, and you interact, and it attracts you to, or it, in a way, position you into magnetic field strength balance in respect to the environment. We're hoping very soon to be able to show a lot of these things and be able to see man to understand it. Because when you create these fields, some of these fields interacts with the body of the man, and we find positioning in respect to it and how we do it. When I explained this many times, if you've been around the foundation long enough, when the fields travel through the plasma reactors, in interaction with the body of the man, they create a physical interaction. They run like a pulse, and they create themselves invisible atmosphere. And I still do tests sometimes. Some of the knowledge seekers who work with us, when they work near these new plasma combinations, they feel changes even in the digestion system working, or feel it in their stomach. I used to call it the tickle factor in Iran when we used to do the flight test, because when it hits touch the body, you bend into it. It looks like somebody trying to tickle it. And we see this quite a lot. If you, the miniature version of this is, if you put your hand in some of the ganses you make, depending on the gans combination, you feel tinkling. You feel that pressure, exchange of the fields of the gans of the cell of the body of the man with the ganses you're working with. It's very, you can create a balance condition. In the future, we'll show you ganses that, for example, you can put your hand in and you can walk into the snow and pick up the snow. You can walk into the fire and pick up the fire. Because these ganses in combination with the cell of the body of man create a field barrier that the heat transfer or energy in the matter state is impossible. This is in a way how some of the animals we've seen, like shrimps in the depth of the oceans at 700-800 degrees exist. because they lived through this principle. So now we're going to show you how to do it and how it's done. In a way, you can get a fireman covered with such a gas and let him go inside a fire building and bring people out. And at the same time, create that protection for them while he's in there. These are the new technologies which merge out of the Keshe Foundation coming time. This is not something unusual. If a shrimp can live at 700 degrees in depth of the ocean, such a pressure, the knowledge is there. We have to understand it. We have to decipher the field transfer, because the minute you understand that the body of the shrimp is not in the matter state, it is in gas state, and gas states in a certain condition are temperature independent, so life is easy anywhere in the universe. I've done this, and in so many ways, it's easy to do. There's a team, I've said that before, if you've been around, a team in Iran, which are working on a new type of fire detectors. They're trying to merge the amalgamated with the Keshe Foundation technology. You don't need a CO2. You just create magnetic fields, plasmatic magnetic fields, which oxygen cannot exist. You don't need to create a water or a blanket. You just need to create a plasma condition. I'll be returning to Iran very soon to work and head Iran space technology into deep space. And this will be part of the work. We'll have a wonderful time to develop this, because then we can fly into the depths of the earth through magma, because we understand how to do it. It's the process of change and the process of bringing a condition that plasma fields accommodate physical temperature, which most of the animals do. And once you understand gases are not in a matter state, then it's very easy to handle such things. This is how you protect yourself in space in respect to the cosmic rays. There is a certain amount of cosmic rays without we cannot live, but there are those who are over the limit which do not need. We create such a shield. Any other question? There's a big problem with the knowledge seekers. By now, most of you should have deciphered the plasmatic fields, environment of a gas or a matter state, and field of the matter state. Then it becomes very easy to understand. Any other question? There is a
Go ahead.
nearly 12 o'clock. On the 6th of May, teaching will be transferred to 7 o'clock at night, 7 p.m. Central European time, not the normal 9 a.m. usual time. The Thursday, 6th of May, the teaching will be at 7 p.m. If you could make a note.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. We have a couple more hands up here. Perhaps we can get in Stefania and Hercules.
Two English.
Hello, good afternoon. Good afternoon, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Good afternoon, Mr. Keshe. I got a question from Italian knowledge seeker, and I'm gonna make, yeah. It's okay, yeah. So I'm gonna
go ahead.
yeah, I'm gonna now put him. He will talk and I will translate. Okay, Alessandro, vai. Alessandro? Ti devi togliere il microfono. Non so se potete...
You
non,
can't ask a question if your microphone is not open.
yeah, yes, I asked Alessandro to take off the microphone. Yeah. Alessandro?
Sì, Alessandro, vai, si sente. No.
Just a second, he's unmuting himself. Alessandro, is this microphone still muted? Maybe you have to unmute. Il suo microfono è ancora mutato. One second.
Why do we always have problems with this?
No. I don't know.
You read my
Maybe
thoughts.
it's too much.
I'm thinking, how many international satellites have the Italians are responsible for, and why the internet cuts out?
We're all... Ok, perfetto. Vai, sì, vai.
Sì. Ok, ma avete sentito?
Sì, ti sentiamo, ti sentiamo.
Ok, ripeto allora. Dunque, io dicevo, c'è quella modalità che ha spiegato Mr. Keshe per dimagrire, e quindi assaporare il sale e questo fa espellere poi il sodio. Assaporare lo zucchero e questo fa espellere lo zucchero. Allora, se questa pratica viene fatta da un iperteso oppure viene fatta da un diabetico, ci sono problemi? Io per esempio sono diabetico.
Basically, Alessandro, he just saying that you in the past you talk about the salt to lose weight. You talk about the salt. So you if you get the salt into your mouth, then somehow you expel the salt. I think this is what I understand. And then if you put the sugar into your mouth, then you expel the sugar. It's a practice for losing weight in the past. He wants to know if this is okay for who is diabetes or hypertense.
Nope.
No.
Nope. Nope.
No. Okay. No, I didn't. I think he heard.
I hope so. How do you say no in Italian?
No.
Nope. Niente. Okay, what's the other question, please?
Okay, we've got a question from Hercules, or at least a hand up here.
Hello, Mr. Keshe. Thanks for your wonderful teaching. And can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
Go ahead.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I've just wanted. There's a news about this fifth discovery of fifth force by CERN, Large Hadron Collector, does it have any significance in terms of if it's true? Is it like Higgs particle, or what is it?
I don't know what you're talking about.
The CERN, they've done an experiment with at CERN, which there is an evidence about the fifth force in nature. So they say. I mean, it's not fully kind of ratified, but there's detecting that.
I have no clue what you're talking about.
Okay.
I don't do much around CERN. I don't spend much time around what they do, and I'm not aware of.
Okay. No, I just thought maybe it has some relations to plasma forces or something that they're misunderstanding.
the whole depends how they've done the tests, how they do their tests. There's a lot of problems in CERN. What you aim to show, you aim to create a machine for it. Doesn't mean that necessarily exists in the nature. And in CERN, as long as you have somebody to back you with the money, you can come up with anything.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
I don't follow much. I stopped following CERN some 20 years ago, where we realized there's a lot of, it's a good theoretical work there, but it doesn't fit into the practical plasma work.
Right.
It's what I call donuts tokamak, but in a bigger size. And the exploration technology used is very much non-existence in the world of plasma.
Right.
Any other?
Thank you.
Well, we did have a couple of questions. I'm not sure if you want to get into, Mr.
Finish early today. Our target is to finish by 12 o'clock today. We have other meetings. We have meetings set up. The process is very, very, what do you call, moving fast. And those of you who are the representative of the television channel, we have asked you to meet us at 12 o'clock on Saturday. Please attend, because we gave you what we call a sandbox for 2 or 3 weeks to test and try things. Now, from 21st of April, Keshe Foundation TV moves into a full gear operation. We need to get you ready for it, that we can do. And in so many ways, we start building up the what we call including and bringing world scientists and politicians into the world of the Keshe Foundation. And at the same time, all the knowledge seekers, all the groups, the what we call the news, the classes, the students, and the main channel will go into a full operation from 21st. And this is what we need to meet, and let's start the process of what we call running the station on a perfect, what we call tune, with what is the aim of the Keshe Foundation, which is creation of peace. And we have seen a new development in Vienna between the Iranian negotiating team and 5-1, which the Americans sitting outside it. In a way, they're sitting to see what they can catch. The instruction for the Ayatollah Khamenei of Iran is no negotiation. And this is why we are not part of it. We won't be part of it, as this is not a negotiation. The terms of negotiation is well laid down by the Iranian leadership. And it'll bring us to a point that we will bring the new condition in terms of operation. And we have to understand what each party talks and wants to talk about. And this will come under the cover of the Keshe Foundation, what we call main channels. We bring the technology, understanding of technology from the scientific world and the world of what we call diplomacy and politics into one stream to create the condition of peace. And in so many ways, we will see more interactions in coming time. And we want to bring the Keshe Foundation Knowledge Seekers TV channel into what we call into the running position. It's the first time knowledge seekers know many people have become running a television channel. And I think you had about enough time for 3 weeks, 4 weeks to do things, to be able to learn. And we kick off with a proper running documentaries, interviews, and explanation, and a lot of work for knowledge seekers around the world. Any other question, or shall we call it a day?
Yeah, I think in order to end in the time you wish here, we should call it a day here, as you say.
I think today's teaching was heavy enough.
Stefania has put her hand up twice here, so perhaps
The
we can
Italians on the satellite.
briefly hear from her.
Yes, good afternoon. However, the second question, the microphone was blocked from the same person. It's a very small question. And Ale, do you want to do this question? Togli il microfono. Puoi? Ok, la faccio io per te. Okay, I do for him. He said his wife, him and his wife, he knows that you said that the cup of man should have done from each individual, but he done the cup of man, him and his wife together. He said, he asked him if I have to take it apart or keep it like this.
Keep it as it is, should be no problem.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much for today. We have other appointments today. They're crucial for the foundation work. We'll meet you next week, next Thursday, and hopefully we'll learn more. As you will understand now, is for you to understand how you can control the field of your blood circulation if you haven't understood the teaching of today. That allows you, by the way you go to sleep, to extend and expand the strength of your soul in a very physical way, as you call it, hyperventilation, to create a condition of emotion or whatever. In a plasmatic world, you cannot create a hyperventilation condition, but you can create a condition of a weaker blood circulation magnetic field. And there are ways to do it that it leads to the expansion of the soul of the man. And sometimes you say, I did this and I blanked out. It means you have managed to move your soul beyond the physical boundary that you cannot see the image of your own physicality. And then if you can reach that point, you have reached a milestone in understanding of the man's creation and created point of life, what you call the soul of the man. Do not do hyperventilation because you will not reach there. Understand the field existence and a position and magnetic field interaction. Today's teaching is very deep for those of you who understood, and those of you who understood it fully, I have given you the key to be able to release your soul, to be able not to release it, but to control it, to be able to extend the expansion and transmutation of the field. Thank you very much for today. And we'll hopefully meet you next week.
Okay, very good. And thank you, Mr. Keshe. And one other announcement we have is the Testimonials group on Monday coming up next week. And that will be at 4 p.m. Central European time. No, sorry, that's at 8 p.m. Central European time. Central European summertime, that is. And people are invited to bring their plasma testimonials to that group. Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. Thank you, everybody, for attending today's 375th Knowledge Seekers Workshop.
innovative, revolutionary, stellar development, purest universal knowledge. In a transformative, futuristic design. The Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit. The very first new evolutionary spaceship technology has been rolled out for mass production. Our Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit is constructed from high-quality materials carefully selected by our team of experts. Embedding the essence of the new GAN's plasma science and technology, it uses collective plasma field technology for changing and enhancing the environment of the body of the man. This new plasma enhancement changes the environment of the body to allow it to return to its natural, balanced, energetic condition, as in the womb of the mother, allowing every cell in the body of the man to find its natural, original field strength balance. The shape and field distribution in this new space plasma technology replicates the inner structure of the universe and replicates the balance fields from which the man was created at the point of inception in the womb of the mother, not only receiving balance in the physical, but also in the emotional sense too. For the first time in the history of man, a system has been developed and delivered, which not only enhances the physical body of the man, but also enhances the emotional part of the user of the system, hence reducing and eliminating many problems that could not be solved in the world of science, to bring the body of the man into near perfection, as at the time of birth. This new spaceship technology can be within the reach of every man today and can be ordered by medical practitioners, sports specialists, and healthcare centers. The Universal Enhancement Spaceship Unit, the future you have been waiting for, is here. The journey from space to spaceship technology has started. Every order is subject to a contractual agreement and might require additional accessories priced separately for applications according to each case. You can order or contact us at office@at.kfm.global for additional information.